Hey y'all, it's more my so I'm picking back up where I left off. It was outside, my phone overheated, and we was getting some juicy part of this chapter, trying to sleep in the bed you made, chapter 20, part 2. So we were at, Gail was on her way to work when the mail carrier rang her bell on Christmas Eve. She got the usual good night and opened the door, expecting to sign for another fat envelope with some attorney as a return address. Instead, it was a package. Oh, what's this I'm drinking, you ask? It's fresh watermelon juice, pineapple juice, and a little bit of mint. Put it over some ice. Very refreshing. Take it everywhere I go. Try to drink it fast though, because it be hot. Alright, so she recognized Ramsey. Instead it was a package wrapped in creased brown paper. She recognized Ramsey's bold script immediately and barely closed the door before she ripped the paper. I wish Ness and Mama were home. I knew you wouldn't let Christmas come without a word. Rubber bands held the cigar box shut. He doesn't even smoke. Gail's hands trembled so much she put the box on the foyer table to open it. Wads of newspaper padded the top. She smoothed the piece. The Gloucester Daily Times, Massachusetts. It was dated December 20th. Underneath lay two smudged greener pasture envelopes. She tore open the lumpy one, and Ramsey's diamond horseshoe fell into her palm. Oh my God. She closed her hand around it. He never goes anywhere without this. Gail leaned against the door for support, but her legs wouldn't hold her, and she slid to a seat on the floor. She could tell there was a letter in the other envelope. Oh, please. Let it say, what? What do I want it to say? Gail felt the fingers at her throat again. She closed her eyes for a second, then ripped it open. The pressure of Ramsey's words indented the lined tablet paper. Dearest Nightingale, you never know how sorry I am about everything, but I am, and I can't fix it. I knew that when the money hit my hand after I sold your engagement ring. I knew that when the money hit my hand after I sold your engagement ring. I walked out of the store knowing I couldn't get no lower. I didn't want to. Breaking in my own house, stealing from my family. Dogs don't do that. I know my ring won't make up for what I took, but it's all I got left, and it won't be no good to me. You were my last luck. I knew it when I first saw you that day by the side of the road. I looked into your big sparkly eyes. I don't deserve that no more, but they'll be the last things I remember. You can bet on that. The hole got too deep, Gail, and I can't blame nobody. I dug it myself. I wanted you to know I didn't mean to hurt you, for it to get this bad. I don't know what to say to Vanessa. If she hates me, let her. I earned it. Same goes for your mama. I left my car on a pier in Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's where I stopped driving. By the time you get this, the police should have found it if it ain't been stolen. Maybe you can sell it for a few dollars. The current here is powerful, and that should save you the expense and embarrassment of having to bury me. I'm sorry, Ramsey. What? Gail crumbled the note and flung it across the room. That Ramsey had run away, that he had been killed by the same people who owed money, that these were thoughts Gail had a million times. Maybe he would kill himself, never entered her mind. How dare you? Screw up all our lives, not even have the decency to face me? You planned this to arrive right before Christmas? I know you did. So we can think about you every year. I won't have it. She sped to police headquarters, looking for Detective Stuckey. Before Gail found her, Monica's father, the chief of police, recognized her and led her into his office. Gail showed him the ring and the letter. I'll contact Gloucester Police. Whatever you do, I don't want to know about it until December 26th. That's my birthday. Mrs. Hilliard, we might need you to ID. If Ramsey is dead, he'll still be dead the day after Christmas. I won't allow this to become Vanessa's holiday nightmare. And if he's not dead, after this, he is to me, whatever happens. And Mr. Phillips, I'd appreciate if you don't talk about this at home. Kids can be cruel, and your Monica's got a big mouth. She prodded Vanessa into one fight already. That night, Gail continued with Christmas Eve as normally as she could. After everyone was asleep, she placed her beautifully wrapped packages under the 3-foot artificial tree she had used last year to decorate her booth at the Christmas bazaar. She looked at her gifts, things that were once run-of-the-mill purchases taken for granted necessities in another life, and angry tears welled up, but she blinked them back, turned out the lights, and went to bed. In the morning, after they opened presents, Gail made the grits, bacon, and eggs, and Vanessa helped her grandmother with her special buttermilk donuts. Lord knows I can't remember the last time I made such a pig of myself. Loretta rubbed her stomach and leaned back in her chair. We should see if we can get your mama to eat a bit more. She's looking mighty peaked these days. trying to keep my girlish figure, Mama. Gail got through the day with a pasted-on smile to mask her shifting emotions. By noon the next day, Detective Stuckey called. Massachusetts State Police had impounded Ramsey's car. There was no sign of struggle, and they hadn't recovered a body yet, but for Gail, it was enough. She knew there was no point in pretending Ramsey was coming home. He had bailed out. She had to accept it. Loretta dabbed at her eyes when Gail told her, "Poor troubled soul. I hope he found him some peace." Vanessa cried so hard her whole body quivered, and she spoke in anguished bursts. "I didn't mean I hated him. Maybe he'll come home." "No, honey, your father had a lot of problems, but he loved you very much." Gail wasn't sure that was true, but only Vanessa mattered to her now. When she got Vanessa calmed down, Gail rummaged through her jewelry box and found the gold star Ramsey first gift to her. She hung it around her daughter's neck. "Your father gave this to me a long time ago, but you were his star too. You have to keep shining for him." In 3 days, Ramsey's body still hadn't washed ashore. Stuckey informed her there wasn't much else police could do. The case will remain open but not active. "I'll call if anything develops. If you relocate, keep in touch. Sometimes a year, 2 years down the road, the ocean is funny like that. I'm real sorry about the way this turned out. If there's anything I can do, call me." Father Pickney offered to hold a memorial service at the church for Ramsey, but Gail didn't want to do it. "Mama, why? There's no point. Nobody will come anyway. You have to let him go. Say goodbye, close the door, and get on with your life." Reluctantly, Gail agreed. Then she phoned the bank vice president who signed most of the threatening letters Ramsey received about the house. On New Year's Eve morning, she met with the man, who was much younger than she expected. He had coffee brought in, tisk-tisking pathetically, and broke to Gail gently, which eased her obvious nervousness. But bottom line, she had until the end of February to vacate or risk further legal action. He made the devastating news sound painless, like feeling her Tuesday had been aching a long time. And when she took his hand, she was still numb but relieved. She started the year with a big new broom, so she had lots of sweeping to do. And that evening, right before watch night service, the rector officiated a private memorial for Ramsey in a chapel off of Nave. Gail, Vanessa, and Loretta sat in the front row with Mrs. Banks right behind them. Bessie and 2 men Gail didn't know came in as the service started and sat in the second to last pew. And Detective Stuckey stood in back under an arch next to a short man who held his black Kangol cap solemnly over his heart. He reminded Gail of a round pink bullfrog. Vanessa cried like her heart would break. Gail, arm around her daughter's trembling shoulders, mopped her tears. Gail didn't cry. In 20 brief minutes, it was over. Mrs. Banks left, shaking her head in resigned disbelief. Detective Stuckey pulled Gail aside and said, "Austin is outside. Do you want me to walk you to your car?" "No, he won't bother us." The bullfrog and the other strangers were gone. Gail, Vanessa, and Loretta left by the side entrance to avoid the holiday churchgoers. Bessie waited by his burgundy rolls, the beaver collar of his overcoat turned up against the wind. "It's tragic. The man had so much going for him, and have it end like this. Seems like some people try to outrun their troubles, but sooner or later it wears them down and catches them in the end." Gail remembered the first time she saw Bessie, big and bald, decked in a white dinner jacket, tending the door of his restaurant. She was so impressed. Now she wasn't sure if he was a friend or an enemy, so she nodded mutely. "You need anything? Anything at all, you come to Bessie, you hear? I'll always be looking out for you." Bessie kissed her cheek, and a wiry handlebar grazed her face. It gave Gail chills. On day 2 of the new year, she picked a lawyer from the phone book, and for a $25 consultation fee, found out that for much less money than she expected, she could be divorced in a year, or for no money at all, she could wait several and have Ramsey declared dead. She plunked down $200 to get the ball rolling on divorce. Driving home, she looked at her hand on the steering wheel. "I sure don't need this ring anymore." It was such a thrill the day Ramsey bought the diamond and emerald band, the day they were married. Now she saw it as groceries and the gas bill. At home, she gathered her diamond tennis bracelet and a few other pieces. She was going to leave Ramsey's horseshoe. What for? She added it to the pile. For all the fanfare that accompanied the arrival of each velvet box. The sale was cut and dry, and she received much less money than she expected. She only got $100 for Ramsey's horseshoe, and he acted like it was such a big deal. Gold necklaces, bracelets, and earrings were dumped on the scale and weighed like potatoes. All totaled, she walked away with $1,100. I wonder what he got for my engagement ring. Next, Gail resumed the job search, but by February she was still unemployed. On Lincoln's birthday, she interviewed as a receptionist for 2 young lawyers, recent Wall Street defectors who were setting up a practice. She was braced for the usual brush off, but they asked her to wait outside, then brought her back and offered her the job. They paid $5.50 an hour to greet clients, make coffee, and answer the phones. She would have 6 paid holidays, a week's vacation after 1 year. Health insurance kicked in after she'd been with them for 6 months. They said they liked Gail because she was more mature than the other applicants. She thought they were kidding. Most of the time, even now, Gail felt like she was play acting at being a grown-up, but she agreed to start the next day and immediately switched to the real estate ads to hunt for an apartment. At the end of her second week on the job, she found a tiny 2-bedroom above a locksmith shop in White Plains. "This is my room," Vanessa said when Gail showed her a clothes off the dining room that would be her bedroom. "I hate it." Vanessa stomped down the stairs. Gail followed. "We'll fix it up nice, Nessa. Things won't be so bad. You'll see." "Can we go home now?" Vanessa leaned against the car. "Yes, but next week, this will be home." The mover showed up 4 hours late with the van already loaded with someone else's stuff. Most of the furniture had gone in the tag sale, and it didn't take them long to jam what was left into the truck. Loretta chattered to fill in the awkward silent moments. Vanessa cried, and Gail wanted to, but as she drove down the hill, away from her dream house for the last time, she didn't look back. What was the point? The dream had died. They settled into their new neighborhood and the new routine. Gail arranged for Vanessa to finish the year at her old school, even though it meant a 40-minute drive in the morning before work and an after-school program until Gail picks her up at 6. Now Gail clipped coupons, planned car trips to save gas, and patrolled the apartment, turning off lights. But on Saturday mornings, Vanessa still had dance class, and after Gail dropped her off, she went to the coin laundry. And at night, she still dreamed of Ramsey. Gail was tired all the time, and somehow each week they made it through, and she felt proud of herself. Then she would look at Vanessa, moody and withdrawn, head bent over her geography book, or catch her mother's lips moving silently as she prayed to Jesus to help see them through, and Gail would curse Ramsey. Not that she didn't spend an equal number of nights on a pillow soaked with the leftover tears of her solitary pity party. She didn't understand how she could miss Ramsey and hate him at the same time, but both emotions lived side by side, so close she could barely tell them apart. In April, the muffler on Gail's car dropped off. In early May, Vanessa caught a cold that wouldn't go away. Hacking cough, strep throat, ear infection, doctor bills, tests, prescriptions, and lost pay took a chunk out of what was left of the emergency fund. Again, Loretta volunteered to take on a few days' work, but Gail had watched her mother get slower, more absent-minded, and saw that her going back to work was out of the question. Instead, Gail looked for a second job. Part-time evenings would interfere with getting Vanessa from school. Nights would leave her no time to sleep before going to her full-time job. That left weekends. One of her co-workers from the rap desk called to tell her they were hiring chambermaids at the new complex in the hotel. Flexible hours, good tips. Maid? Do I look like I'd be interested in a job like that? Does she think I'm, what, Gail, somebody who needs to work? Gail turned into the beautifully landscaped drive that led to West Center and remembered how excited Ramsey was when his bid was accepted. This job would turn the tide. She knew that every time she drove past the carefully placed shrubs and flower beds, missing Ramsey would get harder, and despising him would come a little easier. All right, that's the end of chapter 20. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hope y'all can catch me for the next one. We're winding down on this book. I'll check in with y'all again soon. Peace.